Hey, welcome.
All right.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the pre-questions. Pre-questions are in. And we've got a lot of very interesting bottleneck questions.
Bottlenecks, like long necks.
Yes.
Long neck bottlenecks.
Long neck, longhorn bottlenecks.
Kind of like...
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, by the way. And this week's winner, I'm going to announce that right away. One of our fans on Instagram, D. Parker, won a Drain Droid hoodie. For taking the calculator quiz.
D. Parker.
D.
Sweet.
Parker.
All right.
Isn't D. Parker an author?
Don't know. Is it spelled D-E-E?
Yeah.
All right.
D. Parker.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's not just the letter D. D-E-E Parker. Drain Droid hoodie. And that kind of matches the name.
Yeah.
Another D. D-D-D. D. Drain Droid. Okay. Thank you for being here. No holds barred. Lots of questions. Thank you for bringing them in already. We're going to have a lot of polls today.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
We basically have all the answers to the pre-questions that we asked.
Supposed to say that?
No. We're working very, very hard.
Everything's on the fly.
Yeah.
Here we go. Hey, by the way, if the screen freezes up, just hit the button to refresh on the top. It doesn't take you out, doesn't bring anything. It's going to be good. Mm-hmm. So do that. We've got lots of resources. Our live tour, CBD Jam Session, Advanced Extraction Guide. We've got other guides now too, don't we?
Yeah, we have a solvent removal guide.
Wow.
Come see it on our website. Yeah.
Check it out. extraktLAB.com. extraktLAB. T.
You forgot the T.
Did I? I like tea. Do you like loose leaf tea or the bag tea?
I like the oolong tea.
Oh, I love oolong tea.
Yeah, that's
oolong is really good.
I like that.
That's a good Chinese
tea. The loose leaf.
That's like a dragon tea.
It's good.
It is good. Okay. Sorry. Yes. extraktLABs.com. extraktLAB.com. Go there. Lots of resources. Calculators. You guys are lighting up the calculators. We've got mini courses coming, more coming. We still have to think about our topic for next week.
We'll make it up on the fly.
Which is what we do all the time anyway. Yeah. We just make all this stuff up. And that's good. I've got the interesting keywords. That's good. We can run through those as a thing.
Skip those.
Skip them?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because they're not relevant to what we're talking about.
Oh.
Why don't we use them while we're in there?
Yeah, but it's more fun to do it all at the same time.
See,
really
I told
fast.
you, if you gave him all the keywords up there, that he would just say all the keywords and it just wouldn't work.
LIMS, MES, QMS, GMP, process validation.
All right, there you did it. You get the gold star.
Gold star. See, right off the top. We don't have to mention them ever again. That's right.
Kind of. Yeah, we'll use them. We'll use them through on. Yeah.
All right. Bottlenecks solved. All right. That's what we're going to talk about today.
I think so.
And what I like is that you've got tables.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't.
No.
Not this time.
No tables.
No tables. Absolutely no preparation
Red
at all.
letter day. Red letter day. Gold star. Give me some of that. That was restraint right there. No tables. Now, I do know you have a presentation, though. Just a couple slides.
Yeah, just a couple slides. I think mostly I just asked some questions.
Yeah.
And then we're going to respond and walk through some of the answers.
Okay.
What I can do is kind of preface it, I think, with this particular slide here. We got hemp processing slide. And what we're going to be talking about today is, different bottlenecks within this process, what you guys are seeing as bottlenecks, what's important with those bottlenecks. So why don't I just kind of walk through it, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's good. And, when you have questions, put them in the chat. Introduce yourself, by the way. Tell us who you are and where you are, whether you're a farmer, processor, engineer, chemist, investor, entrepreneur, wherever you are. And then get your questions in early because we go through them. And keep asking because we turn those into FAQs.
Yeah, we do.
We get answers for your questions all over the place. So let's do that. Let's jump in because I think bottlenecks are a critical component. I talk to people every day about where the issues are.
Right.
And I think walking through this slide this flow is perfect.
Right. Okay. Well, let's do it. I mean, when you talk to people, what do you think their number one bottleneck is from your your discussions that you have?
Well, other than me.
Yeah, other than you.
No, actually, in the process flow,
yeah,
I think the biggest one is testing, because there's a lot of people who still have to wait for their tests because they don't have in-house testing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an overarching thing. That's less about the process and more about the validation, so they can move forward.
Right.
So that's the biggest bottleneck.
We'll hit on testing for sure. I mean, testing is one of those things where you typically have a sample, and since you can't get an answer right away, you're always sitting there waiting. And if you send it out to a secondary laboratory, you know how long you're waiting? Like shipping there, shipping back, plus the shipping queue, the test queue, all that stuff, and then you're talking maybe a week later that you get the answer.
Absolutely. And the other two places that I've heard a lot about slowdown is at decarb.
Yeah.
The activation portion of that. So at decarb, because it takes a while to get everything ready for the oven and then get it out and get it to cool down and stuff. We've got options for that. And then the other piece is at solvent removal.
Yeah.
The evaporators.
All people are using rotovapes, right?
Rotovapes are so
that's
slow.
That's a big bottleneck.
Slow.
Yeah. So
slow. Okay. Good. Those are mine.
Here, I'm turning them down on you. You can't have them. Okay, so let's go through the different steps. We have the pre-processing step, extraction step, post-processing, and end products. Okay. Yeah. Very easy, right?
And people love going through this because you always miss something.
Yeah.
And I talk to people at all stages of this, and then they have stories about what's going on in each element of pre, then extraction, and then post.
Right.
So good.
So I think receiving is a really important part of the
huge.
Yeah, basically because that's where you're setting up everything. You're controlling the input of everything that's going into your facility. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times there's bottlenecks there because oftentimes when someone has some product, they're bringing it in. Usually it gets stuck in quarantine there for a while until you get results back that says, hey, this is okay for you to move on into your system. So, typically the process of receiving would be, receiving everything in, weighing it all into your igwLAB system, and then you would barcode all the different batches. So there, one batch would be the entire shipment, obviously, but if you wanted to barcode the different bags and everything, you could do that within the IGW. So that's one aspect of it. But that's the receiving process. And typically you would go through things like, you would record a lot of different things at that. You'd record who the farmer is, or what the address was, what their license was. You'd want to make sure that you had all of the information related to, all of the potency that they said it was. A lot of times it comes with a certificate of analysis. You want to make sure. Trust but verify. Yeah. And then you'd have your QC people come in. They would take their own samples of what's in receiving. They would send those off to the lab, or they would go ahead and then test them. And then after those results come back, your quality assurance person would then release it from quarantine. So that's everything that goes on in receiving. And you want to make sure that you record, all kinds of different things. You want to make sure that you record who did the receiving, right? You want to make sure that you understand that the weights, the scales that you were using have all been calibrated and they be cleaned properly, and that they are fit for commerce, essentially.
Sure.
If you don't have that, you don't have that data, you could be using an uncalibrated scale, which would then, rise to the level of maybe kind of calling into question your results, right?
Sure.
So you want to make sure that you're having everything set. And also you want to have an appropriate size scale in that very beginning of the receiving. So I'm waxing eloquent on receiving here, but not for any good reason. But if you have
I think it's for very good reason, actually, because as it comes in, I mean that's the critical component. That starts everything.
Yeah, it does. It starts everything. I mean, we have. So here's another thing that you need to think about. I mean, so a lot of people, I've seen these around like a 2-ton scale. Okay. Well, if you're measuring 100 pounds with a 2-ton scale, you have plus minus, maybe 5 pounds on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bad rounding error.
Yeah, it's a bad rounding error, and it could be randomly, up or down from that. So you want to make sure that your scales that you size are sized for the input of the bag that you're going to be weighing. So, for example, if it's cannabis, typically, if you're buying trim, for example, you maybe have, maybe 50 pounds a bag or something that comes in. Sometimes it comes in like these, trash bags.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So you don't need to have a huge scale for that, right? But if you're doing like super sacks for hemp, that's a different story. That's maybe 150 pounds, 200 pounds, depending on how it's ground up.
Sure.
So you want to have the right size scale for that.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that the scale is all calibrated and everything. Once you get done with the receiving, obviously you're going to go into some potency testing, which I just talked about. And then you're going to go into grinding. Okay. So right in here is where that quarantine step takes place. And that's where you really have to have your quality assurance, and this is where you get all of your data in on your lots and all that stuff. So this is where it's all defined.
And you
this
did
is
mention
really
the QC
spot.
test.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you send that out to get your pesticides and heavy
unless you have
metals
something in house,
Right.
yeah. And then you want, like, for example, you don't want to release anything into your facility that has contamination.
That's right.
So you're going to want to make sure that you understand if it has bugs, mold. You're going to want to understand if it has, what the moisture content is.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to make sure that, especially if you're going to store it, right? What else? You're going to have to make sure that it's not metals in there, right?
Exactly.
And also pesticides is a big one. Because if you allow the pesticide-ridden material to go all the way into your system, then your grinder and all the stuff, it can be potentially contaminated.
That's right.
Or anything downstream could be potentially contaminated.
And you don't want that. And if it does, turn it away.
Right. Yeah.
Just say, no, can't accept this.
Right, exactly.
And it's not, and you can't do that with potency testing. Most of the people that I talk to don't have a GC headspace or the ability, even with an HPLC,
to do potency.
There's an additional adder to do your own pesticide and heavy metals.
You have to have a what's called a mass spectrometric detector.
I'll say that 5 times real fast. Mass spectrometric detector.
Yes.
Close. But I think that's critical to either add, but even then, don't you really want to send that out to a third party to have that test done?
Well,
typically?
if you have your own methods, you can use your own methods as long as they're validated. Okay. So, you can send it out for testing at a third party, but they should match.
Yeah.
And if they don't match, you want to find out why they don't match.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take us down that rabbit trail.
No,
By the way, we did do another podcast on testing.
Yeah.
And so go to that podcast. It's on our YouTube channel,
right?
Or can get there through our blog and on our website. So get there because that was we spent a lot of time on that.
I think we also spent some time on hemp processing. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there on testing in our hemp processing.
Oh, perfect.
So
good.
Okay. So anyway, there you go. You got your grinding, and then you have your ground material that comes out of that, and then of course it goes into this vacuum oven.
I really wanted to do this.
Yeah.
When you said grinding, I'm like, nightclub. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Hey, take these things away from them.
No. Right.
I'm kind of just jealous. I think we should switch this thing around so I have access to them. You seem to think that's like yours.
I'll share. I graduated kindergarten. I'll share.
Okay. So you got your ground material, and then that goes into the vacuum oven, the decarboxylation oven. Okay. And this is an optional step. You can decarboxylate after extraction, just before distillate. Wow.
What was that?
That's our T-Rex got out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, we've been growing them back there. Feed them hemp. They grow twice as fast,
We might have to hire some people now if T-Rex got out.
Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, you can decarboxylate.
We're hiring
after distillation or just before distillation, excuse me, and or you can do it in the vacuum oven decarboxylation on your ground material. The advantage to doing it before you're extracting and before you're, distilling or anything like that, it's just a really great way to harvest those terpenes prior to, doing anything to the plant.
Absolutely.
And so you're really getting a lot of those great flavors, and it's preserving them. So that's a really good reason to do, vacuum oven decarboxylation. So
Yeah,
it
and
just takes some extra equipment, and
in our decarb lab, our activation lab, there's a lot of add-ons to that vacuum oven, special seals, the venting, piping, the cold trap piping, everything.
Right.
And by the way, I hear a lot of people break the handles because they really want to crank on them.
Well, that's for our smaller size piece of equipment, but we also use that Gemco for the larger
the
stuff.
popcorn maker.
Yeah, so the popcorn maker, the big one.
That's going to be like 100 pounds of popcorn. We still have to do that. We keep threatening to do that.
Oh, we're going to do that one day.
But I do agree. I mean, and that's a big place. And we have we have custom made pans. So the vacuum ovens that we use, and most of you guys are using, have the 5 shelves, and some of them have heated shelves, some of them have heated sides, but we have a 3 1/4 inch pan that's divided that allows you to maximize your throughput, which is really nice. And again, coming back to, because I mentioned this is one of those bottlenecks, that's why we have that supersized pan. And you want to have a separate set of those ready to go, primed and ready, so that when it gets done decarbing, you can pull that out and do it. And we've got a couple of other steps. We should talk about Activation Lab at some point.
Sure.
I think we could do a whole session on that.
Yeah, we could do that.
And then couple that with the terp trap.
Yeah, I think we copy that with number one, we talk about what's happening to the molecules, and why you want to do it in the first place, and then what equipment you'd use. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. And then what are the products that you get out of it? We can sample some terpenes.
I like the way he points at me when he says we can sample, because usually I'm the guinea pig. But I love that, because even grinding at a different size before decarb and then what you're grinding to after decarb is key, and what you do. So that would be very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep taking us down these rabbit trails.
No problem at all. So I'm just going to go through that really quick then. Typically after potency, okay, so there's different types of testing, right? One kind of testing that you would do is like in-process testing. So you would just do that for measuring your process. Okay, you want to know, okay, is my process performing the way I think it should? The other type of testing is typically used for, qualifying a final product. Like, okay, I have a gummy bear and I want to make sure that the concentration of CBD in there is actually matching my claim labels. So that would typically be a third party that you would do. So there's kind of 2 types of testing that you would do. In the case of the vacuum oven testing right after here, what you're looking for is you're making sure that the conversion from a acid CBD or an acid THC to a neutral has completed. So that's what you would do there. With the 140, essentially there you're doing the extraction, and then you have dewaxing, and then you have some CO2 oil, and basically that's where you get your CO2, and you have ethanol in there, and this is where you're getting a lot of action related to trying to remove all the solvents that are in there. So that's why people do winterization. And then after winterization, you go into your rotovap. Of course, you're trying to remove all those solvents, and then into distillation, which is where you get all those nice honey oils. And then isolation, which is a couple different ways to do that. You can either crash it out, or you can get a broad spectrum distillate, which you would get from chromatography, and then you would package it. And each one of these things can be used, you can see, in different types of end products. So that's kind of the overall overarching view of what it is that we have.
I love this chart. This chart works very well. I go through this a lot, multiple times a day with people in and out of the business. Mm-hmm. And it's a good reminder of where you are and what the steps are.
Right.
And it's a good reminder of where your bottlenecks are. Right. So, and it was every ounce of restraint for me, just so you know, when you mentioned gummies and you didn't say that I could sample those, to bring that up. I muted myself so that I wouldn't take us down another rabbit trail. You were getting through that.
So
Hey,
here we are.
super sacks.
Super sacks, yeah. I mean, what you have here is just that's where you have a big bottleneck there, right? We're trying to get all that stuff. We received it into the garage door back here, and we're forking it around and trying to get it into our inventory. This actually is a very old picture of some of the stuff that we get in. But the other thing is we're an organic facility, organic certified USDA. So everything coming into us has to be, certified organic. So it doesn't have any. So anyway, why don't we start asking some polls, do some polls and see what happens,
all right.
and then that'll kind of get some more,
let's go.
More discussions
First
going on.
poll question.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. So, you've already introduced yourself and told us who you are and where you are. We just want to know, do you currently use extraktLAB equipment?
Yeah. It's a good question.
All right. Yeah. And your options are you're shopping now, or you've placed your order, can't wait to get it, using it and loving it. Or number 4, we are operating but using other equipment. And what's interesting, I'm going to be looking at those results. So, go ahead and do that poll if you can answer that. Oh, you guys are coming in hot. Good. Okay. We'll come back to this.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's, typically what we find is that people do a lot of shopping online. They'll take and go to our website or go to our competitor's website, and they'll go back and forth. And then they'll call some people. We have lots of tools there for you to really help you in your shopping process or in your research process. So that's why we do all this with the calculators and, with these podcasts, and we have the guides there. They're just trying to answer the questions to make it easier for you guys. So, yeah.
Well, it looks like most of the people are shopping now, doing research that you're out there. And there's a lot of people who are operating but using other equipment. So that's good. That looks like the most, about, 7%, 5%, between 5 and 10%, keeps moving. So sorry. Have already placed the order 8%. And they can't wait.
7%. Oh my gosh.
And then some are using our equipment. Thank you.
Great participation rate too.
And
appreciate that.
Yes, that's good. That's
we have
another 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so about 70% are either shopping now or using other equipment.
Yeah.
So we're good,
right.
maybe about 80%. So it looks
I'm
like
impressed with that.
I know, and it keeps bouncing back and forth. So we've got using other equipment is huge, but shopping now, a lot of you are still looking, kicking the bricks. So
sweet.
And I'm guessing that based on conversations I've had, those who are using other equipment are still shopping as well, because they're always looking to
they're looking to improve it.
Bottlenecks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about some of that stuff as we go along here.
And I'll keep you posted on where the poll is. But looking good.
So most people are just in their research phase that are listening to this, and it looks like our participation rate is upwards of 80%. So thank you guys for that. Okay, so. And then the rest of you guys are either using our equipment or using other equipment. So that's awesome. So yeah. Okay, so second poll question. For those researching or using other equipment, okay, what are your top bottlenecks? This is I had wanted to ask our customers or our audience this really. The first one was processes that are not worked out but running. This means, okay, we're running a process, but we're kind of just started off with what we thought, and it's not really running the way we'd like it to run, but it's running. Okay. Equipment is too slow, and it's creating a large inventory buildups, and really we can't go any faster because of our equipment. Okay. Paperwork is not getting done, and we need to get more paperwork done, for all of our compliancy, and that's a big bottleneck. And then obviously managing employees. Did you put that on there, Miller High Life? you did, didn't you? Please do not.
I think it was
that one because it'll skew our results. Everybody's going to go. everybody's gonna put the Miller High Life, and it's gonna skew our results.
Well, that was my score.
And then, of course, there's always the proverbial me. I'm the biggest bottleneck in the organization. Well, that's true for any. Yeah. I definitely am a big bottleneck.
If you're running hard, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm, with everybody who's going, they're always waiting for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot waiting, and we've got to get there.
See what you guys have to say about that.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot coming in already. It looks like, and I'll keep you posted on this poll question as well. But oh my gosh, it looks like equipment and employees. Now,
employees are,
they're employees.
Yeah,
that's up there.
Well, that is a big deal. I mean, when you got to have a good training program for your employees. But we could talk about that for a moment and kind of see.
Is paperwork kind of a part of managing employees?
I think it is.
Yeah, it's kind of a combo.
Yeah, and then a lot of the paperwork is like the stuff that we were talking about before with, when you have a receiving event, right? Mm-hmm. All the stuff that you need to record in there to make it a valid receiving event, like how much and then, what are they going to put it on their notebook or on their phone or something like that, and then do the records that way, and then, and then the notebook gets lost, or they're not using calibrated, equipment, and so you don't really know what it is. I think, it's one thing, especially if you're working for other people, you have to have all that down pat.
Yep.
Like if you're doing any kind of toll processing or you're doing, processing for anybody else, you may be able to tolerate some, issues with paperwork, but if not in the course of real events. So you're working for other people.
Well, and it looks like that most of the people are answering this from a process perspective rather than
you should let them finish.
I know, but I'm just looking at.
Okay, we're going to cut this off. 5, 4, 3. They're probably multi-select, and it, that's the problem. Everybody wants to do the Miller High Life, but they're not. Well,
yeah, we should do the poll as rank them.
Okay, we could.
Can we do it? Hey, April, can we do a ranking poll? I got deer in the headlights.
She said sure, and I don't know.
There was deer in the headlights there. It's like, not on the fly.
All right. So what are your top bottlenecks? Okay. So what do you got there?
All right. It looks like we've got about, 60% are at slow equipment. That's where and I'm guessing that's where your biggest pain point is for slow equipment. But a lot of people are saying that they've got about 20% are saying processes that are not worked out. And I'm guessing that that's kind of a combo.
Yeah. I think if, that makes sense because a lot of people are just in the shopping phase, so their processes are not worked out. But that says if you're researching or using other equipment. So looking at those who are operators, I mean, there's always things that you need to do kind of to solve bottlenecks and solve problems, right? So,
and the paperwork and the other is about, it's bouncing between 25 and 30.
Right
there. So it keeps moving. I know that was excess, but it keeps moving.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. Well, look, one other question then that we'd have for you is for those researching or using other equipment, what process is the slowest?
Okay, so
this is the process. Which process do you hate the most?
So those of you who answered equipment slow, I mean, you're always having slow equipment, some places. Where are you experiencing the most pain for slow?
Right.
Yes. Okay, so this is your bottleneck. Where is your big bottleneck? Testing?
Grinding.
Initial testing, grinding, extraction, distillation, filtration, decarb, solvent removal, quality, testing.
Yeah. I don't think all of the above is
thinking.
It's a proper
my slowest
answer.
process is thinking. Okay.
Well, you have distillation. I mean, a lot of times people have that as a bottleneck, but I think that one of the main bottlenecks that we hear time and time again from customers is what you say is solvent removal. Yeah. And it's because they're using rotovapes or they're using some way to get it out, and it's just too slow for them to keep up with their process.
To do it.
Yeah. And if you have water in your process, try to get water out. I mean, that takes forever.
Oh yeah.
forever. So solvent removal is a big bottleneck.
Just talked to somebody yesterday about that.
Yeah.
And, they want to know, how can we get this? Can we get that
You
out?
mean the water in the, yeah.
They want to get the water out.
Well, there's two places that you'd get a lot of water. One place is if you're doing like a chromatography process, and some people use like methanol water or ethanol water to do their chromatography, and then they think that, oh, look, this is a solved problem and it's no problem at all, and then they get this big bunch of water out and they're like, how do we remove it?
Yeah, what do we do?
What do we do now?
What do we do?
What do we do now? So,
and that's the question I've been getting.
Yeah.
It's coming up. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, solvent removal is huge, and decarb is coming in hot, just like I thought. Distillation is ranking higher than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But the reason is because of cleaning.
Yeah, well, probably is cleaning. Well, the other thing is a lot of people buy, single stills,
Right.
just with single still, and so
that's true.
what they end up having to do is they'll do their first pass, and then they'll take that once they do first pass all day, and then the second day they'll do a second pass.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the main reasons why it's such a big bottleneck.
Well, not to mention just cleaning the pump,
Right.
unless you have an oilless pump,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, that would be better.
Testing's coming in too.
Testing is.
Yeah, it's a little lower than I expected, but testing is one of those things where testing can make a big impact on your overall lead time for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the answers that we're getting, it looks like most of you out there are processors. So I think that they're looking at the process in the inflow rather than testing, even though you should be testing all along the way.
Right.
If you look at that last podcast that we did on testing, that you want to make sure that you're testing at multiple places.
Right.
To make sure you can keep moving.
Hey, could you just jot those down real quick so we can make sure that when we go on to our next, that we remember what they are?
Sure. Where did my shorthand go?
So yeah, the other thing is like on the decarb side, I think a lot of times people think that decarb is a bottleneck, but most of the people who use are actually running a process right now. They're using some sort of they're cooking the oil afterward, okay? And that is kind of a nasty process. You can't really get any of the terpenes out of it that you'd like. You're kind of cooking the living daylights out of the oil. So you guys should really try the, activating the biomass. It's so much better, and you get actual, real terpenes out of it. So just FYI.
That would be very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I send out a test, I'd like to talk about a little bit about testing in the bottlenecks and which processes are the slowest. I mean, testing, I think, is a slow process on kind of a little bit not what these guys are saying, but it is a slow process. I mean, because you send out something to the laboratory, you're talking about, 3-4 days, ship time, and then and then you're in the queue there. So, especially when you're talking about end products.
Yep.
So,
No question.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's trending upwards now that you said.
Oh,
that.
now
Yes.
yes. Okay, rewrite all the numbers.
Shoot. No.
Okay, we're going to close this off. We got to close it off. We got to close it off.
Yep.
Okay. So 5, 4, 3.
1.
Got to close it off. Otherwise, the numbers are always changing. So
They are changing. That's good.
All right. So let's go on to our next question that we have. This is so great.
And we'll post the results of all of these.
They're answering all of our questions for us.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. For those who are operating, how do you prioritize and measure process improvement projects? First, whack-a-mole.
I love whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole is a valid engineering process.
Yeah, but it's fun to play too.
Bam, 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 bam. Okay.
It is a little stressful though.
The squeaky wheel?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what happens to the squeaky wheel? It gets the grease, right? Oh, no. Oh, gosh.
My chair has a squeak. If I just lean on it just the right way.
Yelling and screaming is also it is a absolutely valid way to improve.
I know him. Sorry.
Get someone else to run the process. That's after you have reached your absolute end, you're like, oh, somebody else is going to do this better. Then you have someone else do it.
Yes.
You
Thank you
just
very much.
switch people around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Next.
And then 5, that's the one that doesn't, we have a process to take care of process improvements.
There you go.
So it seems kind of binary. Like 1 through 4 are kind of like, that's what everybody does. And then nobody does number 5.
Yeah. And it's like,
we have a process for that. Like who does that?
Oh, I know him too.
Okay.
Yeah. We both know him.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have a process guy. Yes, we have that guy.
We have him.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And what's interesting is the answers to these are more personality than factual process stuff. But it's how you deal with it.
I think whack-a-mole is valid. I mean, that's
it's a legitimate, valid.
Yeah, organizations deal with whack-a-moles, right?
Well,
They're just like, oh, something comes up, whack, 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 and then that's all they do, right? And then something else comes up, but there's no way to prioritize those.
That's right.
And also, there's no way to measure at the very beginning what the priority is for that, and then secondly, which ones you're going to work on, right? So sometimes if you have a process, that's what that would give you is, okay, here's all of our list of issues. We're actually going to prioritize that based on what is important for our business.
And both whack-a-mole and squeaky wheel are all about urgency, just reacting to the urgent, not the important.
Right, reacting. Yeah. So sometimes, you can get into it and really get that squeaky wheel going. One of the things, a lot of people don't like to be the squeaky wheel.
No.
But so they'll kind of hide any problems.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, oh, well,
that's a bigger problem.
Yeah. I didn't know that, so we're just going to continue. And so they invent workarounds to processes and so you go in there and you ask someone what's going on and it wasn't, it's
everything's awesome.
Everything's awesome. Everything's great. Everything's doing it. And
I want to keep my job.
And then you're wondering why it takes 3 days to do something that you had measured would only take, a half hour.
That's right.
You're like, well, I got this thing I'm working around and I didn't really get this piece of inventory, so I really can't do that. And so I'm doing this in the meantime. And you see, I didn't have the proper utensil here, so I'm using this other tool or something like that. That's the kind of thing. So, getting someone else to run the process, that's another valid thing. I mean, some people get trained on one process, and I think you should do round robin training.
I agree.
Definitely.
That is so important. And just so you know, I think that whack-a-mole is winning.
I am not surprised. I mean, I'm a professional whack-a-moler for at least 5 years of my career. Squeaky
funny.
Wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all try not to yell and scream. Oh, that's kind of the worst.
I think that's denial. It's kind of like paper free. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we do. We get in when you're just always urgent and everything is frustrating. You're going to yell and scream on occasion, but then just read,
right,
the 1 Minute Manager.
Right.
Really.
So Ken looks
Blanchard,
like 5% of you has a process. Okay, so that's
really.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good.
And
I think
did they use the process of elimination to come up with that answer?
I don't know. Well, nobody wants to be in the first four buckets.
Yeah, but 95% of you are, and thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
So, I do see, whack-a-mole is the highest. I don't see, that's the squeaky wheel is there, but it's almost like fast whack-a-mole.
Yes.
Jump over here.
It looks like the winner is getting someone else to run the process. So we're going to cut this off in about 5 seconds here. So 5, 4, 3.
You're right. Getting someone else to run the process. I mean, move them around.
It makes sense. I mean, look, you can't do that job. Okay, well, we're going to put you over to the other and then try to train somebody else. Sometimes if the problems move when you move the person, sometimes maybe, you just got to find the right fit for that person.
Yeah.
And kind of figure out what their gifts and abilities are. And then, maybe they're good at pushing paper and not actually running something. So, we typically with our equipment, we typically will, recommend that you have someone who has, some mechanical ability. Okay. Someone who can follow instructions.
Yes.
Sometimes, like for example, I'll speak for chemists here. They always want to try to invent something new process. Okay?
Really?
They're probably not the best operators for your. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they want to break shit.
Oh no, they want they want to mess around with all the dials and everything.
Well, that's the same thing.
And the manufacturing guy wants to. Okay, here we got a SOP, we got a process, we have all of these things. They're all set. You don't mess with them. We just want you to run what we've already validated. Okay, and then the chemist is like trying to go into like an experimental process, and so they really want to go in there and they want to try to optimize things.
So I have a quick question for you. Okay,
Yeah.
so in talking about this is a question I've always been wanting to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, so as an analytical chemist,
Yeah.
are you a scientist or an artist?
Oh, as an analytical chemist, more of a scientist than an artist. Yes. Yeah.
He has to say that.
You have to say that. Yeah.
But everything he just said prior to that, artist.
Well, the artist, yeah. If you want to look at problems and look at them creatively,
Yeah.
So,
I see art as more of a creative process,
Right.
and science is typically not.
right.
Science is more process driven.
Yeah, I could see that.
But that's
yeah.
why I asked that question.
Well, you would want to
I
have.
didn't mean to offend you.
No. You're funny. Okay, so
I often do.
Process improvement, though, you'd want to have a chemist to be your process improvement engineer or something like
absolutely.
that. Okay, because then he'd say, okay, well, look, here's the top processes that we have.
Yep.
Here's the top bottlenecks that we have. Instead of whack-a-moling, okay, you're going to take the ones that are top 5 that are most important to our business, and then you're going to send the chemist, and you're going to say, go solve that problem.
Go.
But don't mess around with the manufacturing process. It's a part format. So
Bingo.
typically they would do their own studies. They would do their own, get their experimental plan together.
Separate from the flow of actual.
Yeah, and then they would also test and measure what they've actually done so that they can say, okay, well, here's what I
Perfect.
recommend to eliminate this process. So,
See, and I think that that's an okay thing to do as you're testing and running and doing that, and that's getting someone else to run that process.
Yeah.
To say, all right, what's broken?
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Right.
What's broken? How do we fix it?
right. Or how do you know that it's broken? Putting in the measurements to make sure that you know it's
Sure.
broken in the first place. Yeah.
Good point. Yes.
So, and then this is the
cow.
final.
Poll central,
Yeah,
man.
I know. Poll. This is crazy. All right.
Okay,
So this is where we're kind of opening up the door in the conversation to, what processes are you actually using and what tools are you using for your processes? So, what tools do you use to reduce paperwork?
Okay.
And mistake-proof your process, or to improve your process, one of the two. So
Well-
what I have here is I have a hodgepodge of questions, and I could actually see that someone would put none of the above
Yep.
on there, but it's not an option, so you can just put one of the tools.
Yeah. So what are the tools means you're not sure.
Yeah, you're not really sure, but an MES would, which is called a manufacturing execution system, that would be one of the tools that you would use to reduce paperwork and mistake-proof your process.
I think I saw that movie.
Did you? Was it good?
Yeah.
Was it PG?
Where you execute on. Right? No, it was not PG.
Oh, what?
No, it's like
it was
kind of closer to R. I think.
I see.
It's kind of violent, actually.
I see. Manufacturing execution systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robots.
Yeah. Well, executions in the manufacturing world.
QMS, which is quality management system.
Oh,
And then the LIMS, which is laboratory information management system.
laboratory information management system.
Right.
LIMS.
LIMS, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Laboratory information management system.
So sometimes, a lot of times, the reasons you have confusion in your workplace and, problems in your workplace is that you don't have a really good way to write down, what is. Okay, so typically what you want to do in an operation is you want to go in there and you want to set up data streams that are taking data. And I'll tell operator A to record all of this data, to operator B to record all of this data. From the quality perspective, they have all kinds of data that they need to take. Who did the work, Was it calibrated? When did it get calibrated? How much was lost? What the yields are? A manufacturing execution system will do that too. But typically manufacturing execution is based on more process oriented.
A lot of people are using a lower based ERP system to try to keep that going.
Right.
And some of them are using accounting systems rather than actual manufacturing processes.
Right. And I think that's, the accountants like to use those systems because it's really the financial records of the systems, but it's not really helping you from the standpoint of executing.
That's right.
Or like you wouldn't use, for example, an ERP system to manage all your quality data.
Correct.
That probably wouldn't be. It just you wouldn't. But the accountants, they typically want to know about yields, though.
Oh yeah.
So that's like cost accounting, right?
Yep.
So they want to know about yields, and sometimes you can work with your cost accountant and or with your manufacturing engineer to really get an idea of where are all my yields, where am I losing cannabinoids. What is my waste and how am I managing my waste? Those are the types of things that you get from your cost accountant, and also from your MES and QMS systems would also take a look at that.
Yeah.
So
I think
people are just confused by this question. I think because number one is winning, and what are the tools?
what are the tools?
What are the tools?
Yeah, because I think that a lot of you out there are not using an MES currently,
right,
or in some sort, or you're using something that is not meant to be.
Maybe yellow legal pads.
Clipboards
and yellow
an Excel
legal pads.
spreadsheet.
Right, exactly. Maybe an Excel spreadsheet.
And that's when you go all the way back to human error being your biggest bottleneck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because now you're going to have document errors and things like that.
Yep.
So an MES would be the best tool to use, I think, for this.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of paperwork and mistake proofing your process, for sure.
Yep.
I mean, what an MES is it basically steps the operator through the process. Okay, so it'll start off saying, okay, hey, do this first. Okay, in other words, scan my badge in, or hey, here, I'm actually doing this work. Number two, scan your equipment in, for example, with a barcode reader. And as soon as you scan that in, it knows, okay, hey, I'm in this process, I'm using this process, and this is the equipment that I used in this process, and that has all been validated as being, usable for this process.
Sure.
The third step would be, okay, hey, I'm going to scan in the materials that I'm going to convert, okay, and that would be like a barcode that would come in on your piece of, on your stuff. You'd scan that in, say, oh, here's the lot that I'm going to now, for example, filter, or here's the lot that I'm going to remove. And then if I'm adding ingredients to this, if suppose I'm making a product, and I'm going to add like MCT oil or something, you need to scan in those input ingredients as well so that you have all the lot numbers and the expiration dates and all that stuff. So those are the types of things that you can see how the quality management system and that quality data and then the manufacturing execution, me actually doing those steps is critical. Right? To have those two actually working together.
And you need them together.
Yeah, you kind of do need them together. Yeah. And you can also see that if that manufacturing execution system is bringing the operator through those steps, they're not then cutting corners because there's no way for them to actually report anything what they did without actually bringing it through those steps. So, and it also has, so like training and things like that, it's really great for that. So MES and QMS, they kind of go together. What the LIMS is, just to kind of give you an idea, that's a laboratory information management system. And usually they run laboratories. And what that means is you'll get a barcode on a sample in. You'll have data associated with that, who the customer is, what the sampling method was, when the sample was taken, what method was used for the sampling. All that stuff is recorded in that barcode, right? And then you basically you store it. You bring it to your storage. You check it into your storage. Then you check it out of your storage. So it's managing where it is in the location. And then when you're actually measuring in your laboratory, you actually measure the sample. You'll say, okay, I used this sample method with it, and record the lots and all that stuff of the the column and the sample prep method and all that stuff. And then sometimes some of the LIMS systems actually will record all the data, like the bits of data, so some of them are really, really super high end. But for the manufacturer, what they need to know is, okay, where's my sample? How does it relate back to the lot that I just gave you? And
Sure.
And then does it pass or fail?
Yeah.
That's what they're really
That's
after.
really what they need.
Yeah. So what a LIMS system will do is it'll help you manage your quality, and it also help you manage your manufacturing execution. So when you're in this system, so those are really what those systems are. And okay, so we should probably do an entire kind of podcast on this system, on the integration of these three systems, because a lot of people are wondering about them.
Yeah.
They can see how everything gets put together. So I'm going to scroll back here to our sample, basically our map here. You can see if you have a software that will allow you to integrate all of the analysis here, so you know where each of these potency testing is going to the laboratory. It comes back and you know that it comes from that lot in that area with that's laboratory information that you're managing. And then your quality is also managing, who is using it, what equipment, what the calibration records are, pretty much measuring all of that. And then your manufacturing execution system is basically right inside one of these processes, where step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and then your mistake proofing in there.
I think that integration is critical. I love the idea of doing that as a full podcast.
Yeah. So that's what the
Let's do
igwLAB is. So we should probably do that, but that's essentially, we're kind of queuing it up for that. We get these questions here, and to get through all these questions almost takes an entire hour. But we're going to use the data here that we gather from you guys to kind of really take in the next show here, really talk about the igwLAB, what it is, why it's important, where you would use it in each of the pieces of where you would use it. Of course, here we have it. We'd use it here, we'd use it here, we'd use it here, all that stuff. But we can also show, scanning in events, scanning out events, what the data is, what the reports are, and things like that.
And that's doing a full integration of an MES, a QMS, and a LIMS system.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
And it's specifically designed for hemp and for marijuana processing, even though it could be used outside of hemp. Some of the items in there, you'd have to really, kind of alter it if you didn't want it to be hemp specific.
Well, you built that just specifically for the cannabis industry.
Yeah, we did. So, yeah.
And I think that would be exciting to go through. And it doesn't have to be integrated with extraktLAB gear either.
No.
You can use that wherever.
Yeah, you can use it whatever. It's just basically, it's a site that, it's all in the cloud. Okay. You have your own instance, with your own security and everything. And then you get a log into it, and each station is set up as a separate workstation. So it's a workstation-driven piece. It's got hardware and software. Let me scroll down here to. There's the hardware.
That's
so this
pretty.
it is. It's pretty nice. So sometimes what's nice is to have infrastructure in your facility specifically dedicated to taking data.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, hey, if you want to take data, if you're going to measure anything, if you're going to record anything, if you're going to make any kind of movement or transfer of material or recording of information, you go to this spot. That's very powerful because essentially it's all there. All your stuff is there. Sometimes you had to have in these drawers here, you'd put sampling, vessels or whatever. You'd put your gloves. You'd have in the software itself, you'd have your SOPs that would be in there. So when someone said, okay, take a sample, the SOP would be right there. Yeah. So you wouldn't have to,
And I'm guessing that scale isn't the 2-ton scale.
No, that's not the 2-ton scale. I think that's a 6 kilo scale. Yeah. So that would be something, this would be the piece of equipment that you might have, for example, in a distillation area where you'd have small amounts going in and out. Not more than 10 kilos at a time. You'd be measuring it, and then, so that's what that looks like.
Great. I love this. And so it looks like you've got the workstation, keyboard, mouse, barcode reader, scanner, and the scale with a readout. And it's all integrated.
It's all integrated, right? And so you would have, scroll back up here, see you'd have one of those stations in the receiving, you'd have one in grinding, you'd have one in vacuum decarb, and in the extractor and dewaxing, isolation, then you'd also have it in the end products. So as you made your end products, it would be, okay, I'm making up a formulation, would all be traceable back to the original raw material.
Okay, and I'm seeing a couple of questions here. Some of the folks on are smaller in scale.
Yeah, right.
So if they have a small scale operation, what would be the minimum number of workstations?
Probably 3. Yeah. I mean, because you'd want to have because you'd have to have one large one for your receiving, and then you'd want to have maybe a 6 to 10 kilogram scale in the middle, and then you'd want to have one that's towards the end so that you could really relieve all of the inventory from it. So I think that you'd want to have 3 at a minimum. I think you could get away with 1. Just on a trial basis, but it'd be really difficult because you'd always be going to that one spot.
Yeah, that would be tough.
That would be like a 1-room laboratory.
Yeah.
So I have seen those for like really small operations. And what's nice about it is that you can go into each of the different processes and record. Okay. So if you had a, maybe 500-600 square foot lab, you probably would only have room for 1. Okay. But if you have an inventory area, if you have any quarantine vault, if you have any like on-site laboratory, this type of thing is what you need to really take all your material and information flow and bring it all into one automated system. So manufacturing execution, all your quality data, and then also all your laboratory information. It's really super powerful.
Yeah, this is excellent. Yeah, and one of the things that I've seen most people with the 3 is that there's one at receiving, which also then doubles with grinding and decarb.
Oh yeah, you can do it that way.
Because I've seen that
because it's a large scale typically. Yeah.
And then they'll go into even small operations. That's the way I've seen them broken out where. Grinding and decarb are kind of in one area, and then you've got the extraction and dewaxing, filtering and stuff in another. And
some people use it like, the equipment module in there is pretty nice. So you can use it to record events. So for example, if you have a like a fire extinguisher that you need to make sure it always has the right stamp or expiration date, you can just barcode that in. And you can run an equipment report, and it'll tell you everything that's expired or is going to expire in the next month or 2. Sure. You know what I mean? So
it'll give you that reminder.
Yeah,
that
for all your calibration
when it's
ticklers
time to refill or
exactly. So it's
bang
great.
the side of the.
It's great for that. Also, what is nice is that if you're talking about manufacturing execution and all your SOPs, people are typically standard operating procedure driven. Okay. Sure. So they have all of that data and everything that they need to take with step-by-step, and that's all in your SOPs. Right here, you have each one of these has an SOP, including, for example, sampling, and then potency testing has an SOP. Mm-hmm. All of those are typically in the igwLAB system already. They're all there, they're built in, and you can change them, and then it'll also tell you, it'll track what was changed. So it's not enough to say, okay, here's the processes that I'm using right now.
Sure.
You have to be able to show what processes you were using when you actually made the material. And if they're changing, which they kind of, they change a lot, you need to have an event manager so you can always go back and look at your old SOPs.
Well, and I think that's good. And circling all the way back, I do like the idea of doing a whole podcast on just this package, but going all the way back, I love the fact that you can talk people through using the system. Here's what you do next. Here's what you do next.
Right.
And I think it's set up so you can't move on until you do that.
Yeah, that's a part of the mistake proofing aspect of it. So, and then making sure that you have the right quality. Yeah, I mean, if you take them step by step through, that helps. One thing I would also mention is that it has all the training events. So like, for example, if you were an IGW user or an admin or whatever, the user would have all types of training documents attached to you, and they would all be in there. So, hey, I've been trained on this particular SOP. I've been trained to use this particular piece of equipment, and I am trained on GMP, which is the entire process. Here's my GMP. Here's my entire stack of certifications that I have. And, a lot of times, like if you have inspectors come in or anything like that, they're always going to be looking for those training records. That's the first place they go. Oh, you don't have the training here. You don't have the training here. Yeah, you got to get written up for that. Yeah. There's a certain number of...
But it's all there. And then you can use those to say, all right, where's your deficit and where can we put you on the round robin kind of thing?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Do a training report and things like that.
I love that.
So,
I think that's good. And so that brings us all the way back to what are the, what are these bottlenecks that you're experiencing and how do you solve those?
Right.
And how do you identify them?
Right.
And these are some good tools and good ways to find that.
Yeah. Like for example, there's a report a problem button in the IGW. We'd rather have people reporting problems as they come along and whenever they come along rather than ignoring them. Right. Because that's the worst thing that can happen. What we'd actually like to have them do is push a big red button with a big alarm with a big thing saying, stop the process. Okay. Then everybody comes around and says, okay, what's the problem? That's what we'd like to see, because then you're really nailing down the problems within the process.
So has anyone said, I just need a hug?
Push the big red button. I need a hug button.
I need a hug button. And then you want to move that person to a different space where they can have interaction. Okay. I love this. This has been very helpful because it's helped you. Has this helped you, by the way? And please comment on how this is helping you identify where your bottlenecks are. Maybe you thought you had bottleneck here, but maybe it's somewhere else, or maybe one bottleneck or problem is pushing into and creating issues elsewhere.
Right. What was our number one bottleneck on the equipment side? What was that? You had written that down there.
The number one was the solvent removal.
Okay.
Yeah, that was number one. But I do, it kept going up to the testing because that, some people are doing it in-house and not. They just see it's invisible.
That's because I kept on emphasizing.
Yes, you kept talking, so that kept going. The second one actually jumped up on the distillation.
Okay.
And, because of, there's some of you out there using single stage.
Single stage, yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to look at the clear still, definitely, because it's a dual stage all-in-one package. It's pretty high throughput. It's really high throughput.
Yeah.
And you can set up the parameters with the solvent removal station to just directly feed your distillate station. So you can kind of run it as an autonomous system.
And by the way, we have previous podcasts, so go there. We do one complete one on solvent removal.
Yeah, we do.
And we talked a bit about the Fractron that we did. That will replace like up to 12 rotovaps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fast.
Yeah, it is fast.
It's pretty cool. That'll eliminate that roadblock.
And what's nice about that also, just on the other side of it, is you should be able to tune that particular piece of equipment so that it will decarb in the final, there's 3 stages to it,
Sure.
right? So you can slow it way down and do decarb in that final stage. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do it there.
Yeah.
As well.
Right.
All right. That's good. And then on the distillate, we also did a whole session on distillation.
Yeah, we did. That's interesting. With the distillation, when we started to look at making our own distillate equipment, we kind of did it out of necessity because we actually bought a bunch of what we call third-party equipment, and we used it, and we actually still use some of it. And it just it didn't have the throughput that we needed, and there was some breaking down, a lot of breaking down. We wanted to solve those problems, for our customers, and so. And then we also wanted to solve the throughput issue because, I'd have to buy 2 or 3 units in order to equal one of our units. And so we kind of sized it so that it was kind of a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 throughput so that people need it anyway.
Yeah.
And people are trying to I just only need one. Well, you kind of need more than that because you're going to be doing it. You're going to be doing pass 1, pass 2, pass 3. Yep. It's just very, very time consuming. So, if you don't care at all about your time, then it's probably
Then
not
it's
gonna,
okay.
Then it's okay.
Because you got to run it through 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, right.
And that's just, you got to get that done.
Yeah, it's not really a production model. So yeah.
But yeah, we did talk about that. So, and one of the things that I've found, even, with our clear still in comparison on that, is that not only do you get higher throughput, but you get greater yield. That's what I'm just blown away by.
Yeah. So we get greater yield. In other words, you lose a lot less CBD.
Yeah.
That's just kind of crazy. So
It is crazy.
I really like that. It's kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
And I wish I understood it.
Yeah. I tell people that I'm like, it gets this higher yield. We just don't have any idea why. It's not a problem we want to solve.
They're working on it. No, I think it has something to do with our vacuum system, and I don't know. I every time I ask them why, they're like, "Why do you care? We're doing it." So
exactly.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, but we're talking. I mean, I've worked with 3 customers in a row, and we're getting between 20 and 30% higher yield.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's amazing.
That's a big number.
No, it's a big number because by the time it gets to your distillate, you're already have all of that cumulative cost of goods that you're accumulating up. It's worth a lot more than when you started off.
That's true.
So you want to make sure that you're gathering as many cannabinoid molecules as possible.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, but go and look at that. So we've got in our learning library, we've talked about testing, we've talked about distillation, we've talked about solvent removal. We've talked about all of this. This is good. And now we're going to do the MES, QMS, LIMS systems. So we're going to talk about all of that. And we didn't talk about the fact that you need those to be GMP certified, right?
Well, no, you can do it all with paper.
You can.
Yes.
You still can.
You can do it all with paper.
Good luck.
It's just a pain.
Arduous.
So that's where the paperwork aspect comes in.
Okay.
So if you have a system that's managing all your training records, managing your, all your calibration records, managing all of your barcodes and how they're flowing through the material flow through your systems, if you have all that stuff, it's really kind of helps you. It helps you comply with the requirements of GMP. Wow. Because it's all in there.
Yeah.
So
why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel? Essentially, GMP is a QMS. It's a quality management system.
Okay.
And everything that we were just talking about here with how you would measure and control your processes is part of the quality side of it.
Okay. And along the way, you get the bonus of process validation all the way through with these things.
Yeah. Process validation is actually it's a separate SOP. Yeah. That's kind of cool. So like, for example, if I have a method, like an extraction method, and I want to validate that, I would look at my validation SOP for that method, and I would follow it to show that it's reproducible, that it's reliable, that it's robust.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying? So and then I would say, okay, now I have a validated production method. The same thing goes for like testing methods or any. So it's
okay.
Most people don't validate because it takes a lot of work to do that.
It does. But if you've got that whole system built into, like igwLAB, and it's saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. Right. Isn't that a continuous process validation?
Yeah, it kind of is. And you could probably write an SOP that would allow you to do that. Yeah. So advanced. Yeah.
Adenoids.
Adenoids, man. Kidneys.
That's right. Exactly. Okay. I love this. Okay. What else do you want to talk about today? Because we're getting short on time.
Well, I think that's about it. I think we went over the main pre-processing things. Thank you so much for all of your answers. That was very helpful, and we'll use those in crafting a future episode, basically.
So do we want to jump into that next week?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we'll do this next week. So we're going to take all of your results, and we'll be able to validate those and make sure that you know exactly what's there on the tools or the polls that we've done. So make sure that you get this, and there will be a replay here So go ahead and do that. And keep the questions coming in because we'll be able to answer them next week as well.
Absolutely.
When we're there. So thank you for being here. Thank you for interacting with our whole team. We've got, you guys have asked for more interaction from our bench to, ask your questions as you're coming up. So that's why we didn't spend time here.
No, we got a bunch of people there, responding to people. So that's good.
And that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Some of them are answering as you.
Yeah, well, that has to do with the login, so I'm not actually answering a lot of those. But yeah, our sales guys are going in.
You're not
and
cloned.
Our technical people are going in, and they're answering as me. So sorry.
I love it. Thank you for being here. Continue to ask questions. Invite your friends. There will be a replay, so do that and join us next week. And again, this week we talked about, we jumped into a lot of different questions on bottlenecks and trying to figure them out. Where are they? We talked about the LIMS system, the LIMS, the Laboratory Information Management System,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
The Quality Management System, the Manufacturing Execution System. We talked a little bit about, introduced, the ERP and the accounting methodologies and where those fit and the fact that, you can integrate those. Go to our resources, live tour, CBD Jam Sessions, talk to our bot on our website.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
He's hungry for conversations.
And he's pretty cool.
Hi, how are you?
He's pretty cool. Kind of big brother-ish. It's kind of fun. But yeah, you stump the bot. It's the kind of thing. So even he likes tough questions. Anyway, invite your friends. Come next week. Calculator Library. Go to YouTube. Like us on all of our social media, on your favorite social media. And so next week, we're going to be talking about, what are we titling that next week?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
so we should talk about that.
But it's part 2.
Yeah.
Bottlenecks solved part 2. But
very good.
We'll come up with a catchier name than that. Thank you for being here. Again, congratulations again to Dee Parker, who won that hoodie by taking a calculator quiz. So go ahead and do, there's a lot of different ways. Jared gets real creative on how to get winners.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. This is good.
Sign up because we're giving merch away. So.
All right. And I apologize because I took us down a few rabbit holes, trails today. We went boom, 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 boom.
No, it was good.
It was
really good.
I learned a lot. This was really good. I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
Keep commenting.
Thank you so much for joining us. And also, you guys, the comments that we get are really awesome. And we love them. We crave your comments. We crave your questions. No question is too small.
Yep. And those of you who watch after the fact, whenever you watch, please, post your comments and questions because we love them and we do that and we revisit them later on.
And they're so good.
They are good. Yeah. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you. All right. We're out.
Thank you. See you later.
See you.